Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn to be free. Welcome to the truth. Hey everyone, Michelle here. I'm so excited to let you know about Freedom Model International membership. Get support as you deprogram from the 12 steps and the shackles of addiction recovery. For a low monthly membership fee, you get the Freedom Model online program, which includes our books, our audiobooks, workbooks, and all the additional lessons. You also get the Freedom Model for the Family online program as well. You will get a live members-only 2-hour question and answer webinar with Mark and myself the last Wednesday of every month. And each week, we're going to add a new video lesson. We call this the What We Learned This Week series. Lastly, we also have the Freedom Model International monthly newsletter, where we're going to tackle the current events and the latest research for you. All this for just $39.95 per month. You can stay a member for as long as you need, and you can suspend or cancel your subscription whenever you're ready. Go to online.thefreedommodel.org to sign up today.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, here we are for another edition of the Addiction Solution Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Dunbar.
And I'm Mark Sheeran.
And we co-authored the Freedom Model for Addictions with Stephen Slate and the Freedom Model for the Family. And we have a completely different approach to addiction and helping people to solve it.
That's right. So we were the creators of the first non-12-step residential program, the St. Jude Retreat, 32 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
A long time ago. And we've been talking about this for 3 decades, the fact that people can get over the problem and that the probability that you will get over the problem is high, which is awesome news. And that the disease concept is a made-up concept and that it's not, in fact, real at all, and that substance use is a habit. Heavy substance use is a habit.
Yep. So what we're going to talk about today is why what we're doing is so important. I have been doing we've been doing some marketing campaigns on social media, and I had somebody, and I think that they were kind of mocking me a little bit, or mocking us a little bit.
Think?
Thinking he's like, great targeted marketing. He posted it on one of my things, LOL. And I liked that comment. I'm like, yeah, it really is. It's good stuff. And I want to talk about why what we're doing is so damn important. Look, he and I have been talking about this stuff for our entire adult lives. And there are days we sit down to do this podcast and we're like, what the hell are we going to talk about today? Right?
That's true.
because
we talk about it all day with guests. We live it, breathe it, talk about it. And we've done 127 episodes. So
we've been doing this podcast since 2018, and we've been back in the retreat teaching guests since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We've always taught, right? But not full-time teaching for many years. We trained people. Mark was writing the books and I was doing the operations and running the retreats. And so, we were kind of, I would deal with families a lot. I've always taught families.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the family book came from. But it's a lot. Let's just say it's a lot, but we love what we do. I can't imagine doing anything else. And I wake up excited to come here pretty much every day. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. But I want to tell people exactly what that targeted marketing is all about. We have this incredible product now. Our goal, both of us, for all of these years, has been to be able to change the treatment industry, to change the way people are helped, because the treatment industry as it exists today hurts people.
Yeah.
It literally makes people think that they're forever broken, forever powerless, that it gives substances these powers that they don't have it's the angel and the devil. It's the power to enslave you, but also the power to solve all your ills and make you feel wonderful. It's neither of those things. And so there's so much misinformation out there. And so our goal is to proliferate what we're doing. So that the vast majority of people can get it.
Yeah. So a long time ago, back in 1989, when I was a kid, I wanted to change the treatment industry because of what I experienced in it, which was awful. And I guess I was just a naive kid at that point, and I didn't understand what kind of undertaking it would require to do that, how much work it would take. I certainly didn't think it would take 32 years to build the basic model that was counter to the treatment model. I thought it would be, a few years. But to do human behavior research is really, really complex. And so it took us about 27 years actually to get the freedom model built. And then over the last couple of years, I wanted to beta test it live with people at the retreat so that I could see the faces of the people we were helping, be in a room with them one-on-one, and make sure that everything made sense to people. I had no issues at all anymore with the research we had done. I knew that it was correct. I knew that it was factual. I knew that we had it right. When you do something for 32 years, you really, and you have an open mind. You have to remember, our evolution started trying to prove that that Alcoholics Anonymous worked. I mean, that's how far we've come.
Right. We wanted to figure out what parts of it were helpful.
Yeah. So we started our research on that side of the fence in a deep, deep way. And then we crawled out of the cult and deconstructed it. And what we found is that we had to deconstruct the entire recovery model in the United States and Western culture in general.
We had to deconstruct the entire concept of addiction.
Yeah.
Because we didn't understand it either.
That's right. So that's what took 27 years. And so for the last 3 years, we've been beta testing that by having a guest in our office one at a time and teaching them the freedom model, and also doing freedom model private instruction with people one-on-one over Zoom. So we've been doing that for 8 years. And then now we've just created the Freedom Model International membership, which allows the masses to gain access to all of our lessons and video tutorials. So we now have a system that anybody can get the correct knowledge to be able to move past their quote unquote addiction, their substance use problem. And so, that we're marketing the hell out of it because it's one thing to be able to help one person at a time, which is great. I love it because it was done for me.
Yep.
And I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. I think that that's just sort of the love of my life. And it's also the way we can keep up on trends and make sure that we're addressing the world correctly. We have to know what the problems are, what people are saying, what are the trends and misinformation that's being dispelled.
Yep.
Right. So, since we've been doing this for 30 years, I can remember a time when there was no cell phones, there were pay phones, right? Just to put it in perspective, how long we've been doing this. And nobody was on medications.
No.
It was incredibly rare. And now medications have become the answer. So we're taking drugs to not take drugs. That's how far we've come in the land of mythology and damaging rhetoric. Yeah, so your answer to a substance use problem, which could be temporary and move past quite easily with the right information, is now a lifelong adherence to some sort of harm reduction bullshit.
It's not just
Um,
harm reduction either, though. It's, when we first started, like almost nobody came in with mental health diagnoses
that's
either,
true. That's true.
and as it became very clear in the treatment industry, a couple things became clear to them. One was that people weren't getting better, they weren't changing, and by and large, most people would go back to heavy substance use the minute they left. But also, what became clear to them is if there was a mental health diagnosis, they could collect more money. And I know that sounds like I'm slamming them as being this nefarious, but businesses exist to make money.
Yeah.
And it's a much easier thing to be able to see somebody for 15 minutes and prescribe them medications than it is to spend hours with them, sorting through the things that are troubling them, figuring out their reasons for heavy substance
Yeah,
use,
figuring out their beliefs.
and all of that. I mean, it's so labor intensive that it's not economically a good business model,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, it's tough for us to make a living doing it because it's so labor intensive.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We've been
Yeah,
doing it for 32 years because we love to do that for people because it was done for us.
exactly.
And I don't think we'll ever forget that. But I think that we now have a way. Here's what we realized probably about 2 years ago. We started seeing all the positive reviews on Amazon, and they're unsolicited reviews, right? I mean, when people get our book and products, they write unsolicited reviews. So and they write very descriptive ones.
Yeah,
It's
they really take time.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are like tutorials in and of themselves. So if you have a chance, go to Amazon and do a search on the Freedom Model for Addictions and look at the reviews. And it's interesting because I've read them all, and I
Me too.
realized that a book has the capacity to change a life. And then I realized that there are people that don't learn well with a book. So then we had to adapt to video tutorials.
Right.
And some people need to be talked to. So we created Freedom Model Private Instruction. But all of this is from the comfort of home, which really, some places do counseling, but the counseling is based a lot of times on the misinformation that exists out there. So it's the
Right. It
same.
exists in that system.
Yeah. So it's the same nonsense. It's the same bullshit being peddled. And I want to back up for a quick second and say that I'm not against harm reduction where you have a situation where you might be in a neighborhood riddled with fentanyl but you still want to get high. So you take Suboxone for a period of time or methadone. Those are effective methods to avoid death. And I think that they're temporary solutions to a temporary problem.
And to stave off withdrawal. They're
Yep.
great if you go
Yep.
on a taper so that you experience minimal withdrawal symptoms.
But this new trend, which I predicted would happen many years ago, is that it's a lifelong replacement because the best you can hope for is harm reduction. And
Yeah.
that is dangerous thinking. And it's a lie. Because we know that people get past heroin use. We know that people at a high percentage, over 90% of heroin users move past the problem, whether they're treated or not. So it's really important to understand the nuances of all this stuff. And that goes right back to my point. So we have all this information. We have it all codified for people. And so where are we headed with this is we've created an economical model for people. $39.95. Now, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, you keep talking about this." Yeah, we're gonna.
Because I mean, this has been our life's work. Like, this is what we wanted to do, was to be able to make a system of help for people that anyone can do.
And if you're complaining about this, please understand that the opposing side has been doing it for 80 years and has killed millions of people.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with telling people the truth at an economical price that anybody can afford and have a lifelong solution to a problem that may kill them. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for making a living at it. We're not rich people. For God's sakes, I live in an apartment and I'm 52 years old. So
I mean, yeah, cool.
I,
We're not going to go into it, but we've had to do some significant downsizing over the last 10 years. So,
yeah, yeah,
um,
because the forces that
we can't
exist.
compete with the multi-billion-dollar treatment industry for sure,
But so
but
the
we
question,
are.
yeah. So the question is how are we going to do that? And the answer is by providing a way for people to get all of the information, the online program, the family program, and all the books, the audiobooks, the workbooks, all the lessons, the video tutorials,
All of our
everything,
work
all of our work for $39 a month.
and us.
Yeah.
2 hours a month. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
we're recording here, and it's Wednesday, the 25th, and so you're not going to see this or hear this podcast until the next week, probably the 1st of June, right around then. And we will have done our second 2 hour live members only question and answer, and we're doing that today at 3 o'clock, which is Wednesday, May 25th, and you literally get a class with us, a 2 hour class with us. Now there'll be other members there. But last time we only had a few members log in
Because we're just starting out.
because we were just starting out. It was brand new. We have some more members now, but not everybody can get the time between 3 and 5 o'clock Eastern time to be able to come in and ask us questions. But it's a Zoom thing, so it's not like our Facebook lives where I would have the questions already because it was not in real time. Like I would see the comments, a minute or two later, and we would already have questions. So it's not like that. We have nothing prepared for this.
That's right.
This 2 hour live Q&A, we get on, and if nobody asks us questions, we'll just sit in silence until somebody has a question. So that it's for you, it's for our members, and the first one that we did in April was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. It
we
was.
had two people, and we did about 40-minute classes with each person. So even if you can't come on at 3 o'clock, like we had one person come on who was there right at 3 o'clock, so we talked with her. And then we had a couple other people were kind of in the wings listening, right? They didn't want to talk. That's fine. And then we had another person come on right around 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
And then we talked to her for like 40-45 minutes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, and
And
she
they
was
had
halfway around the world.
Yeah, she was in Australia.
Yeah.
So that's so profound to me. I started this out with, when we started, it was with payphones, right? Instead of cell phones.
Yeah.
And now we can literally have a conversation with anybody in the world about how to move past this
Yes.
and not struggle and not be stuck in meetings and none of the recovery nonsense, literally to be free.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lifetime goal of mine. Ultimately, I'd like to. AA had a high watermark of 2 million members. So 2 million people in a cult that's teaching them that they have no mind, that self-knowledge will avail them nothing, that they can't think, literally don't think, so you don't drink, keep it simple.
Just
stupid.
don't drink and go to meetings.
Yeah. I mean, all of these platitudes are horrible, horrible ways to take away people's self-efficacy. And also most of it, the 90% of what AA teaches is bullshit. It's just made up stuff that Bill Wilson came up with. So I would like the freedom model to be disseminated around the world and undermine all that nonsense with the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the other part. AA demands lifelong adherence. What we're saying is get your membership
for a few months.
And maybe a month. I mean, I don't care. The point is, however long it takes for you to get the information and then move on with your life.
Yeah.
That's the point of it, is to move on with your life. It's not to stay hooked into some bullshit, support network or anything like that. We're not here to tie you into anything. We're here to show you the information so you can be free.
Yeah. Here's the thing too. We make it so that it's for some people. There are people, we have a guest here right now who has never been to treatment. Mm-hmm. He's never been to counseling for this, none of it. And he's like, this is totally common sense. I totally get it. He felt like he was out of control for a period of time.
He was getting right up at that level where
Yeah.
things were getting wonky.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. But it's literally just kind of riding a ship that's a little bit off, And then we have a contrast that with another guest we have here right now, who in the last, 25 years has been to multiple treatment programs, has multiple diagnoses, and she's so convinced to how broken that she is. In every treatment program she went to, she got a new diagnosis, she got a new medication, she got another person telling her that this is the best it's ever going to get for her.
Yeah, and that she's sick, sick, sick.
Yeah.
That's what she said to me in class yesterday. And now I've seen this how many times? Thousands and thousands of times, And I had a guest prior to that had basically spent 22 years in and out of treatment centers and detoxes. And here's what's interesting. They're awesome people, because every one of them says, oh my God, I knew that it was bullshit.
Right.
But there was no other option. So that's the point.
Yeah.
We need to disseminate this freedom model ethos so that people know, I can move past this. People just don't know. But here's what's interesting. How many times, Michelle, have you heard somebody say, oh my God, when I read the book, when I go through the classes, you're giving me a voice. You're saying the things that I've always thought, but was told I was crazy to think.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like almost everyone. I mean, the truth of the matter is, when they first gave me the chapters and I was reading the book, I was like, this is it. Like, this is the things that I was thinking that I couldn't articulate. I'm like, you guys have figured it out. You figured out how people change. And so here's the thing about it is, for everyone, the kind of walk out of that mindset, that belief system, takes different periods of time. And so that's why we wanted to create a system where people could be a part of it for as long as they want. So whether it takes you a month, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, whatever it is, to kind of figure this out. And because it's going to be like, for some people, and a couple of people that I've been talking to online, a couple of people that have come to the retreat and gone home, for some people it takes, I go 5 steps forward and 3 steps back. But you're always, better is better. You're always making that progress, right? So where you're all that is. And so this is what I tell people. It's a mistake to think, okay, I read the freedom model, I did the online program, and now I got drunk. And it's a mistake to think that, well, everything I read in the freedom model seemed right, but it can't be right because I got drunk. Right?
I mean, this idea of getting, there should be no panic when people drink, or they're trying to figure out their preference. They're trying to figure out what part of their perceived benefits list with alcohol and drugs is false, right? And which most of it is, right?
Yeah.
These ideas that alcohol and drugs are magical elixirs for mental health and coping. So some people have to figure that out experientially.
Yes.
Others intellectually get it and just move on with their lives because it crystallizes in their thoughts, and their beliefs change.
I wasn't one of those people, by the way. Like, we were doing all this research. I was abstinent for 20 years for the most part, not because I wanted to be. I was very happy abstinent for a long time, but there was always something in the back of my mind that wondered if I was one of those real alcoholics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that really was a real thing.
Yeah.
And so my abstinence after that first probably initial 10 years was basically because I had this belief that maybe there were some people that couldn't, right?
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous belief, to think that somehow alcohol has this power. So I needed to figure it out. Like, after 20 years, when I had my first drink, I literally said to my husband, okay, I drank alcohol. And like, nothing happened. I had a glass of champagne at a wedding.
And now, mind you, at this point, she knows all the research.
I do.
But it's funny thing, experientially, you have to go through that, Now, some people like myself, I didn't really have that much of a a worry,
Right,
maybe.
right. He didn't have that kind of
We
anxiety
kind of
around
we
it.
kind of came back into drinking, me, Steve, and Michelle, all around the same time. I think because we had read all the research, we were in the middle of writing the book, and we said, Jesus,
We got to figure this out.
yeah, we got to see if this is real before we go spelling
Before
it
we
out.
like start talking, like that was when we were first putting like the possibility of moderation in the book.
Right.
And it's like, we can't just do that.
And then codifying all of that.
Mhm.
So here's what's interesting. My drink, people say, well, how did you quit? Well, I quit the way most people quit, even with being treatmentized as a kid, even
Yeah.
with being immersed in the cult of AA as a child. Even with all that, as I was drinking in my last 6-month bender, the reason I was able to quit was because I realized that alcohol would never solve any of my problems. And I tested that. I tested it. I mean, I was drinking a bottle of liquor per night, plus about 3 or 4 beers during the day to get me through the day. Sort of hiding that drinking. And I would go through that and I would test it. And I came to grips with the fact that no matter how drunk I was, the problems weren't going away, that my mind was still breaking through, that the reality of my life was breaking through the buzz. And that's when I started to realize that the mind and the brain are not the same thing. And that's also when I started to realize that alcohol wasn't this problem-solving agent. Now, I wasn't able to articulate that. I think that when people quit, and outside the treatment realms, which is the majority, or they moderate successfully, they come to grips with things like that. They come to grips with, well, alcohol and drugs
It's
aren't
not working
working
anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, 99% of all cocaine users quit, and it's one of the shortest tenure drugs that we have in humanity. People don't do it for very long periods of time. And the question is, why are people able to quit cocaine, and why is alcohol longer? And then they struggle maybe with the alcohol question. It's your beliefs about it.
Yep.
It's your beliefs. It's just the way you think about alcohol and the way it sits in society and the way it's being taught to us.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I mean, at the end of my drinking, I was drinking all day, every day. It was kind of a maintenance kind of drinking. And I remember like when I started, when I just kind of gave up and was like, I just have to be drunk all the time. And then I remember getting to the point where I was like, I am not any happier this way.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not going to, and I was not only was I not happier, I was physically ill from it.
Yeah, me too.
So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's how people do it. They just come to the conclusion that, okay, this isn't giving me what I want. And so I'm going to try something different. Now, sometimes people bounce back and forth. They'll come to that conclusion, feel better, get to the point where they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna run this experiment again."
I did that for a year. Actually.
Yeah, but when you don't run the experiment with an open mind, and you keep your belief system intact,
That's
that
right.
I'm feeling, because the first couple drinks feel pretty good, right? Like you might get to that point where, oh, this is kind of nice. Yeah, this is kind of nice. Then you dig deep again and you go through that cycle. Then that's based in your beliefs.
You're chasing your fantasy.
Yep.
And then you double down to chase the fantasy that you once had with alcohol or drugs, and you're not getting it. And the reason is because you've evolved past those habits. And people sometimes aren't willing to recognize the fact that they've really moved on already.
Yeah.
And that's a painful place to be when you don't realize that. So it's really important to recognize that it's okay to change. It's okay to evolve. It's okay to let go of old habits. And whatever a treatment center told you that it would be the most alluring thing, that you'll always be an addict, is bullshit. Absolute 100% nonsense. Unless you want to make that true in your life, unless you want to believe that, unless so it's really important to keep an open mind, be willing to look at different messages, and maybe read the Freedom Model, maybe get that membership and learn it. We teach it to you in video tutorials, for God's sakes. You can sit there and learn it.
Yeah.
From us.
And you can actually do it in a month's time, depending on how motivated you are, for sure. And then as you're running your experiments, back and forth. Yeah, there'll be some frustration if you're like, oh, I want to go out and have a couple drinks, and then you find yourself drunk again. You're like, oh, what just happened? Well, you changed your mind. Your goal was to be intoxicated. I did not see value in having 2 drinks for a very long time. I do now.
Yeah, you do now. And so do I.
Yeah,
I very
absolutely.
rarely ever go past 2. 3, I just start to feel like shit, so I don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's under very specific circumstances. And somebody was writing about this in our group. We also have a Facebook group called the Freedom Model Group, and it's people that are we are active in the group, and also Matthew Sparks and Daniel Pelorge are very active in the group. They are certified Freedom Model instructors.
They do our Facebook lives as well.
They do our
When are the Facebook lives?
the Facebook lives, which everybody can see, are Q and A's that Mark and I used to do. They are the first and third Wednesdays of every month from 4 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. And they collect questions during they might get questions through phone calls. They might get questions on private message or through our Facebook group, or in their classes that they're doing.
And then they talk about those questions and they answer them.
Yep.
And that's Daniel Pelorge and Matthew Sparks, who are certified Freedom Model instructors.
Yes, yes, they're fantastic. So
smart dudes.
Yeah, so put that on your calendar between 4 and 5, the first and third Wednesdays of every month. And then Mark and we do our members only live question and answer on the fourth Wednesday of every month through Freedom Model International membership. And it's this next month. Next month, it'll be the fourth Wednesday in June. I don't know what the date is, but I'm going to look it up while Mark talks.
Okay. So know that there's a solution for anybody out there. And like I said, if you have any doubts about any of this, go to our Facebook group or go to Amazon and read the reviews, because you'll be pleasantly surprised by the honesty that is all over the place there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Wednesday, June 29th from 3 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time. That will be our next live Q&A on Freedom Model International. So get your membership before then if you want to talk with us directly.
So go to online.thefreedommodel.org. That's online.thefreedommodel.org if you want to get your membership. If you want to know more about the St. Jude retreat because you need to stop maybe a chaotic stage in your life and you need us to help you through this, go to soberforever.net.
Yes. And call the number in the top left corner of the screen. And for people that are listening to this, it's 1-888-424-2626. If you want to talk with Danny and learn about Freedom Model private instruction over Zoom, that's another great option.
That's a great option. That's sort of the middle option between the Freedom Model International membership, which is a little more passive, right?
Yeah.
And the retreat, which is very intense because it's one-on-one with us.
Yeah.
And you're in a residential setting. You're in the retreat here, which is where we're sitting. So the Freedom Model private instruction option is you're at home, but you're still having one-on-one classes like this with Matthew, Daniel, or Julia.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. You're going to keep seeing my posts on, I'm doing about 2 a day with a cute little picture. I do them on Instagram and Facebook that are just encouraging people to join the membership or talking about our products or just giving just a little pep talk to everyone. If you're somebody that is doing the online program or you're doing this at home and you're reading the book and you're kind of going waffling back and forth, this is part of the learning process. Running these experiments is to be expected. What you're doing is you're trying to figure out how much you really like this, if it's really doing for you, what you think it's doing.
You're figuring out if your perceived benefits of getting high and drunk are real.
Yep.
And once you come to grips with the fact that they're not real, that the vast majority of benefits you've put into the drinking and drugging experience is actually mythology that you've been sold, and you understand that and it crystallizes, you won't get high and drunk problematically anymore. You just won't.
It's like, and a lot of times people can feel that process happening, right?
It crystallizes.
And it's a little bit scary because they're like, oh, my crutch, and so you
my baby is gone.
Yeah, you might jump back to it and be like, oh shit, it's not, we call it the buzzkill. It's like the terminal buzzkill. It's like, but once you see it for what it is and you kind of move past it, look at every once in a while, I plan it. I see every once in a while, like a couple times a year. I might catch a good buzz and really enjoy myself.
Yeah,
I so but I'm not using it for any reason other than exactly what it can do. Does
that's
that make
right. Yeah,
sense?
well, it's a novelty.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
novelty. So it's really important. But I also I want to say that we abstained for over 20 years, and I abstained not out of fear. I abstained because I was so freaking successful in my life.
Yeah, that first 10 years for me was like that.
Holy shit. I mean, it was like unbelievable how efficient I became at building my life. So
Yeah, everything. Like we would make these lists of what we wanted, and as I would achieve them, like within a few years, I'd achieve them all, and then
yeah.
I'd move on and make another list and achieve them all. I mean, it was remarkable. Whatever I wanted, I pretty much got.
Yeah, and we're still doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I hope you join us.
I hope you
You
do.
don't have to struggle.
No,
You don't have to struggle. All
no.
right.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, everyone.